this is so much better. Yeah, look, the feedback from the team is this makes a lot of sense, much easier for the team to do. There's hours and hours of savings across the organisation that we've got out of this system already.
Tell us a little bit about HULC and how long you've been at the organisation, and a little bit about your role there.
So HULC, it stands for the Hand and Upper Limb Centre, and we're a hand therapy business based across metropolitan Perth and the southwest of Australia. Got clinics across the region. So we provide hand therapy services and upper limb services. So that's rehabilitation and exercise. And we employ a mixture of occupational therapists and physiotherapists who provide their hand therapy and upper limb services to our patients, whether they're referred from their GPs or from surgeons after operations, to get people back to doing what they want to do and be able to do that in a fully functioning or as close to fully functioning manner as we can get them. Myself, I'm the CEO, working with a team here based out of Claremont in Perth. I've been here just over a year, and during that time I've seen a lot of growth in our clinics. We've moved a lot of clinics as well, and the intention is to keep that going. And so one of the things I was looking at when I joined is, what are our pain points? Where can we get the wins? What's the low-hanging fruit where we can improve our processes? Because just like any other small business, we've taken them up to a point, but what we're looking to do is, right, okay, those are now barriers for our growth. So how do we get through them? What are the type of things we need to be looking at? And process automation and using our technology that we've already got to do things better. We've gone through reviewing our internal processes as well and looking at how we can streamline them, make them easier for our people, and hopefully get some efficiency gains. And one of the things we looked at was our recruitment and onboarding. The market for therapists is very competitive, so you don't want to be putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage by not being able to respond, not being able to answer queries, not having everything organised for when people start. You want to put yourself front and centre so that you can be first to move to offer those positions. Part of that was looking at, okay, how can we improve our HR onboarding processes, but also make sure we've got consistency in contracts and control over that process that's very visible but simple.
And can you describe what it was like when you first arrived, or what it was like, what were those processes like? What were the pain points?
Yeah, so I think they're probably no different or not that much different from any small business, in that you do the best that you can. You'll have a folder on your drive where you keep HR documents, and you'll have a template and you'll fill them in each time, and you'll do everything by email. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with how it was being done. It just wasn't efficient, but it was also prone to errors and things falling down the cracks because there was no visibility across the whole workforce and the people organised who were responsible for recruiting to be able to see what the other people were doing and where we were in that process. Yeah. And so that's when we started to look at, well, how can we make it more streamlined, process-driven, using the applications that we currently have without starting to add on another app, where we have to pay per user per head, which became then inefficient as you scale up.
What was it specifically about Agendis HR that you liked that made you decide to actually implement it?
The first thing was just, we already have a license for Microsoft 365, and the fact that we didn't have to pay for more additional licenses. We already had them. We could have the single sign-on. People already were familiar with the environment of 365, so it meant that we could roll it out much quicker. Training was minimal, easy to pick up, and the way the Agendis HR app had been designed was that it made it the whole process of onboarding and documents and performance reviews just very straightforward and visible to everybody, so that we could get a lot more self-service from our employees. So it wasn't just emails coming in and then someone typing them in. you could type them in directly and we knew it was there.
What was it like to implement it? Obviously, there's a lot of data that you've got and transitioning from, if you like, the mechanisms that you had in terms of, file shares and so forth. How has the implementation been for you?
The implementation itself has been very straightforward, but what I would say is that, as with any implementation, you get out of it what you put into it. So we made sure that we knew what we wanted from it. We did our planning. We talked to the team at Agendis, made sure we understood what the requirements were, and made sure that we planned them and put all the effort in up front. I think once you've done that, then it becomes a lot easier. And then it's just a matter of smaller queries, little bugs here or things like that. Am I using the features right? How can I do this for our organization? Those become then, if you like, the icing on the cake.
And how long has Agendis HR been in now, and what have you noticed since it's been in?
Yeah, so we started the whole project sort of the last couple of months. We've definitely been using it in anger, in real life. We've had a lot of recruitment on that, and the feedback from the people and the team who are doing the recruiting is, this is so much better.
Yeah, brilliant.
We know what's happening. They want to use it, and now I think there's a confidence in the fact that it doesn't have to come all the way up to the top of a manager for all those decisions to come back down again. It's like, hey, here's the process. You can look at it at any time, but in the meantime, the process is going to continue with the right level of involvement, engagement, and authority. So that whole workflow has been a lot less painful than it might have been normally. It's
great news. I suppose if we look at the other application that you've implemented recently, Agendis Time, from a similar perspective, if we could cast your mind back to what time recording was like within HULC when you first arrived, and maybe some of the challenges that you had, maybe talk through again the same kind of thing in terms of what was the selection process like and the criteria that led you towards selecting Agendis Time.
Yeah, so time, this came about, it'll come as no surprise to anybody who runs a small business, who needs to keep track of things. There was the good old Excel spreadsheet. And all the benefits and all the pain points that come with using good old Excel spreadsheet, in that, everybody knew how to use it, everyone could use it, but it probably required one person. You key something in, you then got to repeat, there's no automation. And so I think from that point of view, it was doing its job. But again, as we were growing, and I think this is one of the things we identified, it was a barrier for our growth. Because unless you then put extra resources on to do it, you couldn't grow. But by putting extra resources in, all of a sudden you're adding to your cost base. So there becomes a critical mass and a point where it makes common sense, good business sense to invest in a system that automates and makes it easier. And also our staff, we now have an app on a mobile phone that they can fill in and just press send, as opposed to trying to log in, fill in a timesheet, or email a copy of that sheet to their managers, who can then copy and paste it into the master spreadsheet. And so on. So look, the feedback from the team is this makes a lot of sense, much easier for the team to do. So for everyone filling it in, and the queries come up straight away. I think one of the other advantages as well, it has an award interpreter in there. So we don't have to worry about, have we captured the right overtime, or the right pay rates, have we got the scheduled breaks in there. So all of that is taken account of, and makes it a lot easier and gives us confidence that we pay our people properly as we should.
We built Agendis Time. We were very aware of the fact that there's lots of time recording tools out there, but there aren't so many that can record time and perform the award interpretation and create the pay slips automatically in Xero. And I'm just interested to understand, like, what level of time saving has that achieved for you? But that level of automation that drives through, not just from the time recording, but actually the bit after the time recording, that drives the back end processes. What's the difference been like for the team?
And I think that's probably relevant as well, because at the same time we got the Agendis apps, we transitioned to Xero. So we were doing multiple new system integrations at the same time. So we run all these at the same time. And it's been, we've benefited from that integration already. So within Xero, I think the first couple of times the team has it worked? I think we'll just go through and check. But even them checking it was a lot quicker than them having to try and type it in manually from a spreadsheet into Xero. So even though they were doing the sense check, which is the right thing to do the first couple of times, you want to make sure that everything stacks up. It's working as we envisaged and as we intended it to be set up. But even that checking it's a lot quicker than doing a spreadsheet. So I'd say, there's hours and hours of savings across the organisation that we've got out of this system already. You've
been leading HULC for a period of time. In terms of your role and your view points in terms of running a small but growing, aggressively growing organisation, for other CEOs out there and other leadership teams out there, what do you have any kind of words of wisdom or advice in terms of thinking about or what to think about when it comes to automation, existing systems, moving away from spreadsheets and manual processes, as you said, and about the Microsoft platform itself? Are there any kind of pearls of wisdom or advice that you'd give to other people out there who are maybe thinking around, transitioning to these types of technologies?
Yeah, I was going to say, don't be scared of doing it, because if you want to grow, you'll just be conscious of it. You'll recognize the point when you get to it is that I can't keep doing this anymore this way. Yeah. And therefore you look around, and there are lots of apps out there available that you think will provide a solution. But when you start to dig into those and look at them, it's like the model is always software as a service, which then as you scale, it is great for small companies, but if you're going to scale and grow bigger, then it suddenly becomes a massive cost burden. And I think it just pushes that cost hump further down the line. So I think look at what is available and what's right for your business at the size it is. What system will grow with you? Yeah. Because if you make the decision too early and you go with one that's cheap now, but is only going to be 5 times the cost in a couple of years because of your growth, maybe challenge that and have a look at a different option. You're already paying for your 365 licenses, and as I've said, that was a big bonus for us. It means that all the data's on our servers. We've got control of it. So if anything were to change down the line, then we still retain that control. We've got it all there. We know that it's got the same security as our systems. It can be managed alongside everything else that we run on our own IT systems. So those are the key things I think to look at versus an external additional app that probably doesn't, you've got all the security risks around it as well. And you've got the cost explosion if you are going to grow to the extent that you want to.
Anthony, look, thank you ever so much for this. Appreciate your insights, and delighted that Agendis HR and Agendis Time are in and functioning well and doing what they're meant to do, which is deliver efficiencies for HULC, and long may that continue.
Yeah, and I was going to say one last little anecdote is that we're able to recruit people from overseas and communicate with them, and we don't have to be live. We can send the system links. They can do it at their time zone. Yes, we do it at ours and everything else. So it's 24/7 accessible, and that's the best thing. Is another great thing about it.